Hey there, you looking kinda cute. Please consider subscribing and check out our Patreon for more. Enjoy the video. Ronnie stared down at the sleek black high heels on the floor of the closet, his heartbeat quickening. The house was quiet, too quiet, with Jessica away at her weekly book club meeting. Normally, he relished these evenings alone, free to lounge on the couch in his underwear, drink beer, and watch sports without judgment. But tonight, a strange restlessness churned inside him. Before he could overthink it, Ronnie reached down and picked up one of the shoes, turning it over in his hands. The patent leather gleamed under the closet light. He ran a finger along the arch of the sole, imagining how it would feel to walk, hips swaying in shoes like these. A thrill ran through him at the thought. "Stop it," he scolded himself, shoving the shoe back in its place. "This is ridiculous. You're a grown man, not some weird crossdresser." But even as he turned away, the urge lingered, plucking at him like fingers on guitar strings. He paced the bedroom, trying to shake it off. It wasn't like he wanted to wear women's clothes all the time. He was still attracted to Jessica, still loved being a man. But something about the illicitness, the taboo of trying on his wife's things when she wasn't around, excited him in a way he couldn't explain. "Screw it," Ronnie muttered. Heart pounding, he marched over to the closet and snatched up the heels before he could change his mind. He carried them to the bed and sat down on the edge of the mattress. With trembling fingers, he unbuckled his belt and shucked off his khakis and socks. The bedroom air felt cool on his bare legs. Ronnie picked up one of the shoes and slipped his foot inside. It glided against his skin, buttery soft. He fastened the delicate strap around his ankle and repeated the process with the other foot. Wobbling slightly, Ronnie stood up, astonished at his own daring. The heels forced him to stand differently, spine arched, weight balanced on the balls of his feet. He took a tentative step, then another. The shoes pinched his toes and rubbed his heels, but he barely noticed the discomfort. Adrenaline sang through his veins. He strode back and forth in front of the full-length mirror, admiring the way the shoes made his calves look shapely and elongated his legs. It felt forbidden, thrilling. He couldn't help but wonder what else of Jessica's he could try on. A skirt, maybe? His body flushed hot all over at the thought. A car door slammed outside. Ronnie froze, head whipping toward the window. Jessica wasn't supposed to be home for another hour at least, but there was no mistaking the sound of her key in the front door lock. "Honey, I'm home early," Jessica called out. "Book club got canceled. Where are you?" Frantic, Ronnie kicked off the heels and shoved his feet back into his pants. But in his haste, he overbalanced and toppled onto the bed with a yelp. He yanked at his pants, pulse racing, but they tangled around the straps of the shoes, trapping his feet. He swore under his breath, tugging harder. Brisk footsteps sounded in the hallway. "Ron, is everything okay?" The bedroom door flew open. Ronnie looked up, stricken, his face blazing with mortification. Jessica stood in the doorway, jaw agape, taking in the incriminating scene. Her husband sprawled on their bed, pants bunched around his ankles, feet crammed into her best heels. "I can explain," Ronnie stammered, wanting to sink through the floor. "It's not what it looks like. I thought—" The excuses died on his tongue. Jessica folded her arms over her chest. One sculpted eyebrow lifted. "Really? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like my husband was playing dress-up in my shoes." Her voice was calm, unreadable. "Is there something you want to tell me, Ron?" Ronnie squeezed his eyes shut, too humiliated to meet her gaze. His heart thudded painfully behind his ribs. He waited for her disgust, her anger. Instead, the mattress dipped as Jessica sat down beside him. Ronnie startled when he felt her fingers brush his heated cheek. Reluctantly, he opened his eyes. To his shock, Jessica wasn't scowling or recoiling from him. A slight smile curved her lips, equal parts amused and intrigued. "You know, if you wanted to try on my things, all you had to do was ask." she murmured, stroking his jaw. I think it's kind of nice. Ronnie blinked at her, scarcely daring to believe his ears. You do? You're not mad? Jessica leaned in close, her hair falling around them in a curtain. Her perfume enveloped him, spicy sweet. I could never be mad at you for exploring a new side of yourself. Ronnie exhaled shakily, lightheaded with relief and burgeoning arousal. I love you too, Jess. You have no idea how much. Now that your secret's out, maybe we could have some fun with it. Emboldened, Ronnie grinned up at his amazing, passionate, open-minded wife. Oh, I'm game if you are. But fair warning, walking in these things is way harder than it looks. Jessica threw her head back and laughed. The joyous sound eased the last traces of tension from Ronnie's body. No arguments here. Heels are gorgeous but evil. She stood up and held a hand out to him. Guess I'll have to hold on tight so you don't fall. Among other reasons. With a chuckle, Ronnie took her offered hand and let her pull him to his unsteady feet. Hand in hand, giggling like mischievous teenagers, they made their way out of the bedroom. So much for a boring night alone, Ronnie mused happily, marveling at this unexpected turn. Here he'd thought indulging his curiosity would end in tragedy. He never imagined it would bring them closer together instead. Jessica led Ronnie down the hallway, her fingers laced through his. He wobbled along behind her in the borrowed heels, grabbing onto her arm for balance. At the threshold of their bedroom, Jessica paused and turned to face him. You know, she said, a mischievous glint in her eye. If you're interested in trying on shoes, I bet you'd look amazing in some of my other things, too. Ronnie's eyes widened. His mouth went dry. You mean like your clothes? Jessica nodded, her smile encouraging. Why not? We're about the same size, and I think it could be really fun to play dress-up together. She gave his hand a reassuring squeeze. But only if you want to, of course. No pressure. Ronnie's mind reeled. Part of him was terrified at the thought of wearing women's clothing, of crossing that final line. But another part, the same part that had thrilled at the feel of the heels, was undeniably intrigued. He trusted Jessica completely. If she was okay with it, maybe it wasn't so scary after all. I don't know, he hedged, pulse quickening. I've never really thought about it before. Jessica studied his face. Tell you what, how about we start small and see how it feels? I could pick out an outfit for you, something basic. If you hate it, we'll stop. But if you like it, she trailed off, her expression turning heated. Ronnie's breathing sped up. Curiosity won out over fear. Okay, he said, barely recognizing his own voice. Let's try it. Beaming, Jessica tugged him into the bedroom. She positioned him in front of the full-length mirror and stepped over to their shared closet. Wait there, she instructed. No peeking. Ronnie obeyed, his stomach alive with butterflies. He listened to the sounds of Jessica rummaging through hangers and drawers. She hummed to herself, clearly enjoying the process. After a few minutes, she emerged with a bundle of fabric in her arms. I thought we'd keep it simple for your first time, Jessica said brightly. She held up a white floral sundress with spaghetti straps. This is one of my favorites. It's cute and comfy. Next came a white bra and panty set that made Ronnie blush to his hairline. And of course, you need the right underthings to go with it. Ronnie swallowed hard. Jess, I don't know if I can… Shh. She laid a finger over his lips, silencing him. No overthinking. Just try them on and see how it feels. I'll give you some privacy. She laid the clothes on the bed and slipped out of the room. The latch clicked shut behind her. Heart hammering, Ronnie stared down at the delicate garments. His fingers shook as he reached out to touch them. He stepped into them. They settled low on his hips, hugging his curves. The sensation was strange, but not unpleasant. The bra took a few tries to fasten. It felt constricting compared to his usual undershirt, but the band and straps held him securely. He scooped up the dress and pulled it over his head. Light as a whisper, it cascaded over his body and fluttered around his thighs. Ronnie smoothed his palms over the skirt, marveling at the feel of it. With a fortifying breath, he turned to face the mirror. His own reflection gazed back at him, both foreign and familiar. The dress draped him perfectly, accentuating his narrow waist and the sleek lines of his shoulders and arms. With the heels, his legs looked a mile long. "Ronnie, can I come in?" Jessica called through the door, startling him from his reverie. "Yeah," he replied, nervousness flooding back. "Come in." The door opened. Jessica stepped inside and halted, her eyes growing huge as she took him in. "Oh my God, honey, you look amazing." Ronnie ducked his head, feeling shy and exposed under her odd gaze. "You think so?" "I know so." She crossed to him and touched his chin, coaxing his face up. "Seriously, Ron, you're gorgeous like this. How does it feel?" "Different. Good different." He laughed a little, self-conscious. "It's comfier than I expected. And I feel kind of pretty." The admission came easier than he expected. Jessica's answering smile was blinding. "You are pretty. More than pretty. You're stunning." She brushed a thumb over his cheekbone. "Gladly. But first," she took a step back, eyeing him with an impish grin. "I think this new look of yours deserves a name to match. What do you think about Veronica?" "Veronica," Ronnie repeated thoughtfully. It felt good on his tongue, melodic and feminine. His lips curved. "I like it." "Then it's settled." Jessica twined her arms around his neck. "It's a pleasure to meet you, Veronica." She purred against his mouth. Jessica stepped back from their embrace, her eyes sparkling with mischief and affection. She looked Veronica up and down appraisingly, taking in the full effect of her transformed appearance. Pride swelled in Jessica's chest at the sight of her husband embracing this new side of himself with such openness and vulnerability. "You know, as stunning as you look right now, I think we can take this a step further," Jessica mused, tapping a finger against her chin. "To really complete the Veronica look." Veronica tilted her head, intrigued. "What did you have in mind?" A slow smile spread across Jessica's face. "Well, most women don't have quite so much scruff." She reached out and traced Veronica's jawline, fingertips rasping against the stubble shadowing her face. "I'm thinking we should shave you nice and smooth. Really bring out that pretty bone structure of yours." Veronica's hand flew up to touch her jaw self-consciously. Sure, she'd noticed other women's legs and underarms were always shaved, but the thought of getting rid of her own facial hair had never crossed her mind. It was such a ubiquitous part of being a man. But now, dolled up in Jessica's dress with a new persona to match, it felt like an obstacle to her feminine fantasy. "I've never shaved anything other than my face before," Veronica admitted, suddenly nervous. "I wouldn't even know where to start." "Lucky for you, you're married to an expert." Jessica winked and laced their fingers together. "Come on, I'll show you how it's done." She led Veronica into their ensuite bathroom and patted the counter. "Hop on up and get comfy. This might take a while." Veronica did as instructed, shimmying onto the counter and letting her heeled feet dangle. The stone felt cool through the thin fabric of the dress. She watched with interest as Jessica opened up the cabinet and began gathering supplies: a can of shaving cream, a pink razor, a washcloth, and a bowl. "First things first, we need to hydrate and soften up that stubble," Jessica explained as she ran the sink tap, filling the bowl with warm water. "Shaving dry is a recipe for razor burn." She wet the washcloth and draped it over the lower half of Veronica's face like a makeshift beard. The damp heat felt soothing against her skin. Veronica closed her eyes, some of her apprehension melting away. After a few minutes, Jessica removed the cloth and set it aside. She shook the can of shaving cream and squirted out a generous amount into her palm. "Okay, here comes the fun part. Hold still." Gently, she smeared the cream over Veronica's cheeks, chin, and down the column of her throat. The mentholated foam tingled pleasantly. Veronica suppressed a shiver as Jessica's fingers slid against her sensitive neck. "There we go, nice and lathered up," Jessica murmured. She rinsed her hands and picked up the razor. "Tilt your head back for me, honey." Veronica obediently bared her throat, pulse fluttering rapidly beneath her skin. She trusted Jessica completely. She worked slowly and methodically, rinsing the razor frequently so as not to miss a single spot. Veronica sat very still, hardly daring to breathe. "You're being so good for me, baby," Jessica praised softly as she maneuvered the razor along Veronica's jaw with the utmost care. "Staying nice and relaxed. You're a natural." Veronica preened under the approval, feeling herself sink deeper into a floaty headspace where all that mattered was Jessica's touch and attention. Each pass of the razor seemed to strip away more than just hair, peeling back layers of ingrained identity to reveal the smooth, feminine potential beneath. Face and body. After what could have been hours or merely minutes, Jessica set the razor down and surveyed her handiwork. A wide smile broke over her face. "There's my pretty girl, all soft and glowing. Take a look." She turned Veronica to face the mirror. Veronica blinked at her reflection, scarcely recognizing herself. Her skin looked impossibly smooth and sleek without a hint of stubble, her cheekbones and jawline more refined, almost delicate. "Wow," Veronica breathed, meeting Jessica's shining eyes in the glass. "I look gorgeous," Jessica supplied, wrapping her arms around Veronica's waist from behind and hooking her chin over one bare shoulder. "Utterly gorgeous. But we're not done yet. There's still one more thing we need to make you the perfect princess." Curiosity piqued, Veronica twisted in the circle of Jessica's arms to face her. "Oh, do tell." In response, Jessica flounced over to the other side of the double vanity and started rummaging through a drawer. She emerged with a bulging floral makeup bag and held it aloft with a triumphant flourish. "Aha! I knew this would come in handy someday." She unzipped the bag and upended it, spilling a colorful avalanche of cosmetics across the counter. Tubes of lipstick, pots of jewel-toned eyeshadow and dewy blush, glittery liners, puffs of brushes, and other mysterious tools. Veronica gazed at the array, excitement and trepidation fizzing in her veins. She recognized most of the products from watching Jessica apply them countless times, but the idea of putting them on her own face was daunting. Makeup had always seemed like a foreign language exclusive to women, full of confusing techniques and unspoken rules. What if she messed it up? What if she looked ridiculous? As if sensing her thoughts, Jessica paused and said, "Hey, no worrying aloud, remember? This is supposed to be fun. I'm just going to enhance what's already there." She selected a slim tube from the bunch, uncapped it, and swiveled it up to reveal a glossy black wand. "Let's start with mascara. It opens up your eyes like you wouldn't believe. Look up for me." Obediently, Veronica tilted her chin and trained her gaze on the ceiling. She struggled not to flinch as Jessica carefully swept the wand along her upper and lower lashes, depositing inky pigment from root to tip. The mascara felt surprisingly weighty and ticklish once applied. "Gorgeous," Jessica declared, selecting a rosy cream blush next. Using her fingertips, she blended a sheer wash of color along the apples of Veronica's cheeks. The cool, balmy texture melted into her skin like a dream, leaving behind a subtle flush. A champagne shimmer illuminated the tops of her cheekbones and brow bone. A precise flick of liquid liner and smudge of kohl rimmed her eyes, making them appear bigger and more defined. Jessica hummed in concentration as she painted Veronica's mouth in a glossy nude lip, thumb smoothing away any smears. "There," Jessica said with satisfaction, turning Veronica to face the mirror once more. "My beautiful masterpiece." Veronica gaped at her reflection, heart suddenly beating much too fast. She looked soft, feminine, radiant in the most mesmerizing way. The cosmetics brought her features to life as if spotlighting them on a stage. Eyes bright and sultry, cheeks glowing, lips plush and inviting. But what struck Veronica most was her own expression. Her eyes shone with a sense of delighted wonder, a giddy joy practically vibrating beneath her skin. She didn't just look pretty, she looked happy. Freer and more at home in herself than she ever had before, like a missing puzzle piece slotting into place. I'm beautiful, Veronica whispered, blinking back the sudden sting of tears. The words tasted sweet and right in her mouth. You are, Jessica agreed, wrapping her up in a fierce hug. Inside and out, I am so proud of you, baby. Thank you for sharing this with me. Veronica turned and buried her face in the warm crook of Jessica's neck, overwhelmed with emotion. Thank you, Jess, for everything, for accepting me, helping me, loving me. I couldn't have done this without you. You never have to. Jessica stroked her hair, cheek resting atop her head. I will always support you, Veronica. No matter what. You're my whole world. They held each other for a long moment, content to soak in the intimacy and import of what they'd just shared. Eventually, Jessica pulled back just enough to cup Veronica's face in her hands. Her eyes sparkled with renewed mischief. You know, it would be a real shame to waste such a gorgeous makeover. Veronica laughed, dizzy and giddy, and so in love she thought she might burst from it. Oh, did you have something in mind? I was thinking dinner, dancing, a proper girls' night out on the town. Jessica grazed their lips together, teasing. What do you say? You up for a little inaugural adventure, Veronica? A thrill chased up Veronica's spine. The thought of venturing outside on Femme both exhilarated and terrified her in equal measures. But with Jessica by her side, she felt ready to take on the world. Absolutely, Veronica declared, taking her wife's hand and giving it a squeeze. Let's paint this town red, or pink as it were. Jessica's delighted giggles chased them out of the bathroom as hand in hand, they sashayed toward a shining new future. One brimming with love, acceptance, and the prettiest possibilities. Veronica couldn't wait to explore them all. Because now that she'd had a taste of her most authentic self, she knew one thing for certain. This was only the beginning. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out Patreon for a lot more content and early access to YouTube videos.